everyone, and welcome to another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D. You know, I'm always about finding organizations that are helping out veterans, and that brings me to today's topic. This is an interesting club that has recently taken over from an older club. It's called the Tidal James Catfish Club, and they're doing an event on Saturday, April 12th to help veterans in our area. But before I get too much into that, let's bring in my guest, and this is Trey Thorpe, who is the tournament director of the Tidal James Catfish Club. First of all, Trey, thanks for joining us here at Off the Hook with Matty D.
Hey, thank you for having me, Matt.
Talk about how did you all get, first of all, how did you get to be part of the Tidal James Catfish Club, and what is and who is the Tidal James Catfish Club?
Well, it's a club in name only. You know, we don't really have members, but we definitely have a core group of anglers that show up every month. It's basically just a monthly tournament series that we have been running for 2 years now, 2 seasons. And it's your everyday monthly catfish tournament. So it's usually 2 anglers per boat, 2 fish per boat, weigh in at the end of the day, and biggest couple of fish wins. And we have a point system, and it runs throughout the season. And April will be our last event of the season, and it's coming down close. I think the top 3 guys are split by like 6 or 8 points total. So it's a fun event. It's a bunch of it's a lot of community and a lot of camaraderie and a little bit of BSing and,
of course,
just trash talking. But it's always a good time.
And so, where are you based out of?
We usually host out of Hopewell Marina.
Okay.
Hopewell City Marina, but that is recently, there's ownership things going on. The city is, Hopewell's doing some things, so I'm not sure if that's where we're going to host out of next year. We have a couple of other options, but usually it's based around Hopewell just because that's the prime fishing grounds for catfish in the James River.
Is it really? So Hopewell, that whole area, once you get downriver from Osborne going down to Hopewell, that's really good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the bread and butter of the catfishing of that river for sure.
Really interesting. Yeah. Okay, I have never catfished, and I hear it's absolutely unbelievable because the size of the fish that you can hook into is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How many? You said this is a pretty robust club. A lot of anglers. How many anglers do you have in your club?
Usually we average about 20 boats in the monthly events, depending on the time of the year, because we do August through April is our fishing season, and it gives us the catfish will generally start spawning when the water temperatures hit about 72, which for us in Central Virginia in a consistent year, put it about late May, early June. So we try to let the fish take a break then, and then we'll get back to it in August for a 12-hour night event, which is always a fun time.
A 12-hour. So I've always heard that if you really want to catch catfish, you want to go out like after dusk and fish overnight. That really gets you into, or extreme early in the morning.
It depends on the time of year.
Okay.
Honestly, if I want to go catch catfish, I prefer between November and February. That's from 7 a.m. until 3-4 p.m.
Okay, all right.
But that's just the fish kind of jump in the boat in the middle of the winter.
Really?
If you put the right bait there.
All right, so then let's get into it. I mean, how long have you been catfishing?
I've been consistently catfishing. Basically, the only thing I target, if I'm going fishing, everybody knows I'm going catfishing. There's not an option there. Like, I'm not going to go bass fishing or.
Right.
In the summertime, we are going to go cobia fishing and do a few things in the off time for catfish, but I grew up in Central Virginia all throughout, fishing the bay, and I was born in 85, so mid-80s, early 90s, the bay was on fire. We had big giant bluefish, we had big giant striper, we had all kinds of stuff in the bay, so that's where we went. Mid-2000s, late 2000s, the bay kind of
cooled down.
It definitely cooled down, for lack of a better word. So I got buddies that, grew up with me and everything, and they're like, man, well, you should get into catfishing. And I'm like, well, we'll see. And next thing you know, I realized I can put my boat in the water 10 minutes from the house, and I have a chance of catching an 80, 90-pound fish every time I put the boat in the water. That'll drive you.
It's incredible. It really is. Yeah, for sure.
It definitely saved me some fuel. So since then, that's what I do.
Do you have a preference in terms of flatheads, blue cats, or you just like the feel, the tug is the drug, sort of
The
thing?
tug is definitely the drug, even though both provide a different tug. I compare blues to like a largemouth bass, and I'll compare a flathead to a smallmouth. If you are familiar with this fighting, the difference in the fights. The blues are more prevalent here. They were officially introduced by the DWR in the 70s, and when they were introduced, the population took off, and it since produced a real beautiful trophy class fishery that people genuinely travel all across the country to come fish. The flatheads were never officially stocked, but they are showing up, and in the last couple years, we have definitely weighed more flatheads, but also larger flatheads than we kind of think we're going to see right now. I've seen a few over 50, and fingers crossed, the James River may produce a state record flathead eventually.
Wow.
But we have to help manage the fishery properly, and that's a whole nother that's a whole nother ballgame.
Managing fisheries, we can go back and forth because, I do all kinds of fishing from trout to stripers to shad, and, the ocean fish, and you do the catfish, and you do some ocean fishing, you said. So, yeah, there's lots that have to be done in there. So, you said that come April is your last tournament because the water heats up. You let them cool down, do their breeding. You then return tournaments in August is the overnight. How many tournaments do you do per year?
Our first year we did 10, and that was a lot on me as the director and the guy that had to be there and make everything actually happen, which outside looking in, it looks like I show up and talk a little trash to everybody and send them on their way, but there's a lot behind the scenes going on, and I also host an annual event titled Kings of the James, and now we've kind of lumped those. They're entwined, if you will, now since I kind of have management of both of them. So we do 8. This season we did 8 for the Tidal James event, and then 1 for Kings of the James that had bonus points for the series if you fished it.
Gotcha. So Kings of the James is a separate entity that you've now incorporated into the Tidal James Catfish Club?
It's a separate entity that I was involved with initially starting, and I had a partner, but he has since stepped away because he's active duty Navy and is bouncing around still doing that stuff. So it was just a lot on his plate, and I started running. The Tidal James kind of started while and because of Kings of the James, I guess. Originally, there was a club called the Old Dominion Catfish Club, which, even if you wanted to go further back, there was I've got fishing buddies that will be mad at me.
Yeah, it's
for
all
not
good.
remembering, but it's Mid-Atlantic Catfish Club, maybe, or Central Virginia. It was one of those older. I was not involved. I might have fished one event. I was maybe 15 at the time, but the Old Dominion Catfish Club was our predecessor, and those guys, a little bit old school, but they ran it well for years, and it got a good following, and it became the event every month that you weren't making any money at it, but you were going out having a good time, and you were seeing your friends and your buddies, and it was more of a friendly competition than a cutthroat event, and that atmosphere is what drew us to it, and we really enjoyed hanging out with the guys and chatting with everybody. And when the Old Dominion guys decided it was too much for them, and they were just ready to retire and hang out and enjoy their post fishing lives, and they kind of put a post on Facebook, and I was like, man, I feel sorry for the guy that's going to have to take over for that.
And that became you.
15 phone calls from people that insisted I was the one that needed to do it. Later, they convinced me, and here we are.
Right.
But it's an awesome event. It's an awesome series. But the very icing on the cake at the end of the year is our event with the veterans.
Right.
And that's something that Old Dominion started. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to continue it, and it really is our favorite event of the year.
And so, real quick before we get into that, because that's really one of the reasons why we have you here, after the convincing to have you become the tournament director, do you still keep the tournaments in that same we're not making big bank here, but we are just going to have so much fun? Or has it become a little bit more competitive?
I've I've always been a competitive person, and I've always felt that if you're gonna win, you should win.
Right.
And if I don't like paying out past first place, we pay to third place, and my rule is like we have percentages broken down,
Sure.
but if third place should at least get their buy-in back,
Right.
and other than that,
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
Out of luck. Got it.
So we've made some adjustments to the entries and the payouts, but not really. They just paid a little deeper than we do,
Gotcha.
and that it made it fun for everyone.
Right.
But if you win, if you finish, if you place in the money, you should at least be able to cover your entry fee. It was kind of my thoughts on it. And we've kind of kept the structure very similar because we wanted the friendly environment and atmosphere. Right. We've pushed a little more technology as an upgrade of the Facebook page some, and now we do live streams of our weigh-ins, and we'll do live streams of any of our bigger events. But then other than that, the rules stayed very similar, just a little more official and kind of I involved a lawyer, make
right.
sure that nothing falls back on me if I can. But realistically, we're the first Saturday of the month when we're in our season,
yep.
and everybody knew that, and that was kind of the window that other tournaments throughout the years kind of built around. So we utilized that same opportunity and just stuck with it. Unfortunately for us, that first Saturday of the month in the winter months during hunting season is usually a pretty important day for
right.
hunters.
Yeah.
And
you have a lot of cross-population.
For sure.
Of course,
yeah. Our November, December tournaments for sure are lighter. October's a little lighter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also, I think this past year we did away with the October event because Kings of the James is in October, and I wanted everybody to be able to hunt, fish Kings of the James, and still get some bonus points for the club. So
gotcha.
We're trying to be as flexible as we can.
Sure.
Almost anything we do or change, we try to put up to a vote towards our participants,
yep.
or basically anybody on our Facebook page that wants to chime in, and we'll try to do a majority vote there, and that kind of leads the way. And any rule that happens, any rule change will happen between the end of April and August.
Right,
there's absolutely nothing that will change in the middle of the season because
it'll throw off the whole, and you'll hear about the gripes and complaints.
No matter which way it goes, if
right.
it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's not going to be the right thing.
For sure.
So we that's a standard rule. It's like if you don't like it now, remember in April and let me know.
Exactly, change it then.
Yep.
Real quick, so can anyone join your tournaments?
Yes,
okay.
That's what I mean. It's a club by name only,
Yeah,
just
right.
because it sounded cool when I was trying to figure out what to call it. Old
right.
Dominion Catfish Club. What can I do? Oh,
yeah,
well, yes. All you have to do is show up, pay your entry fee,
mm-hmm.
sign a waiver. Your boat does need a live well that is functional and can support and sustain 2 fish healthily for the entire day. Because unlike some of your smaller panfish tournaments or walleye tournaments,
right.
we require the fish to be alive and swim away at the end of the event.
Oh, that's very good. Is there an age limit to anybody or?
No age limit. No age limit. As long as you are capable of fishing and you feel like you can handle it, you're more than welcome. And a lot of times, this year we have a youth angler award for the highest placing youth angler in every event.
That's awesome.
It's tough. We try to balance youth angler, female angler, and
mm-hmm.
veteran angler. Sometimes we can get donations from sponsors to do that. And some years we get them for all. Some years we get them for 1 or 2. And
sure.
But we do what we can for
everybody.
Yeah,
you're really making the club pretty inclusive, which is awesome.
We want anybody that wants to learn and fish, come on out.
Right.
And even if you don't know somebody that has a boat, come to the weigh-in, hang out, chat with a few people. There's a good chance you can land yourself on a boat for the next month.
That's awesome. That really, and I love the fact that the youth angler thing and the women angler thing, I think is important because we've got to get that next group going because you and I are getting any younger.
Not at all. And there's some youth anglers that have won our awards that are going to smoke all of us on that river in years to come. There's a couple of guys that I am terrified when their dad sets them free on us.
That's awesome. So, I mean, but that's so cool because you've seen them, struggle probably in the beginning.
Oh no.
No, never struggled? No?
Not with their dad.
Oh,
no,
God, okay.
No, well, they struggled, but they ended up victorious
Yeah.
because of the struggle
Because-
and
right.
because of the coaching, I think.
Well, that's important. That's what it's
Oh,
about.
yeah.
It's about learning
Oh, yeah.
the craft and all. All right, so you mentioned this. I'm going to bring this up here real quick. And you have an event coming up on Saturday, April 12th. This, you said, was part of the original club, the Old Dominion Club. This is a veterans event. Let's just talk a little bit about this. What are you all doing, and how are you helping veterans here?
So at the end of our season, every year we have our awards ceremony and a half a day fishing where we'll take out veterans, first responders, and anyone that is involved in that world, Gold Star families and stuff like that. A lot of our family, a lot of my family were veterans, are veterans, are currently serving. I was a knucklehead, so I made poor decisions when I was younger. So I fished for fun instead of serve the country.
But you're helping them out now, so take grace in that.
Yeah. The Fallen Outdoors is a group that we work with, and we also do work with the Operation Vets with Nets organization. Both of those are charity organizations that the Fallen Outdoors is an organization that gets veterans out in the outdoors to help with just kind of getting away with everything that's going on in their heads, everything that they've had to deal with, and the decision they made to serve our country and what that's actually costing them now that they're back home. Right. It's not an easy transition to go from A to B, and it's something that we need to respect and appreciate. And that organization just gets them, whether it takes them on hunting trips or fishing trips, and they were involved with the Old Dominion Club, and in turn are now involved with us. Luckily. Operation Vets with Nets is another organization that is a little bit newer, and they're located, I think, in Chesapeake, Virginia. Okay. And they are a little bit different, as in some of them are actually veterans that have boats and stuff, and they have a lot of volunteer captains, and they are more focused on getting folks on the water fishing, right, and just real therapy is what they're calling it. And it's I mean, I tell my wife all the time, she's like, you want to go to church today? I'm like, no, I'm going to go fishing. She's like, why would you do that? I'm like, well, I make my peace with God on the water. Him and I have our conversations out there, and that's kind of what I feel like these guys are doing too. And I've taken full boats of vets out here and there for different events, and I take them out, and I'm like, all right, guys, we're setting up on this spot for this reason or this reason. I'm going to cut my bait for this and this. They do not care. Right. They're talking, they're chatting about the stuff they've been through, their boot camps. One of the guys was a drill instructor, so he had a lot of fun stories.
Oh, sure.
But it's just the time on the water and the time just chatting and it just seems very therapeutic, and it seems like it's doing the right thing. And what we do is we'll have a half a day of that. Mm-hmm. Then when they come back to the dock, and we've got a full catered lunch and some trophies and a little award ceremony, and it just the smallest actual gesture we can say thank you to these guys.
And I think it's incredible. I think you're doing a couple things. I think number one, it is therapeutic, right? Because you're giving them a day where they don't have to think about their day-to-day lives. And they're on the boat, it seems like, with other veterans. And so there are some stories they can share, and there's laughs that they can have amongst themselves that we from the outside may not be able to fit into. But that does help. And real therapy is correct, because, I mean, I'm sure when these guys put a catfish on, it's like they are like all focused and all in, like this is coming on the boat somehow.
Yeah. A couple of the pictures you flashed up of the actual fish, there was a flathead and a blue. Those are, I believe that was last year or the previous year's winner with her blue. And that's a very good fish. I think that was pushing 60.
It's ginormous.
It is a really good fish. And then this flathead is a huge flathead for the river. I think he was, just the size of that head, he might have been gearing up for the spawn here, but that is a very good fish. And and me as an angler, seeing them kind of show up is awesome.
Yeah.
But he's also the person that caught that's also that was one of our last year veterans.
And so how many veterans are you able to take on this day on boats?
We're shooting for about 20 to 30.
Okay.
And we'll meet at Osborne Boat Landing in Henrico, right off the river. We usually meet about 6 a.m. I'll have a whole bunch of captains from the club and from Vets with Nets. Because Vets with Nets has a couple of boats that are actually handicap accessible and wheelchair accessible.
Okay.
So that helps get even the most limited members out there. And we'll meet there about 6 a.m., get everybody, assigned to vessels, and they'll hit the water. I'm a little upset now that I have to run the club. I don't get to fish this event because my sidekick and his brother, my cousin is was active duty Army, and that was one of his favorite events. Was he would come fish with us too, but now we're stuck on the dock doing all the behind the scenes stuff.
Are you sending him out with somebody else?
It depends on his schedule.
Gotcha. Right.
I will if he's available. Sure. But he seems less available now that I'm not able to fish it. I don't get that.
Do veterans reach out to you, or do they reach out to like Fallen Outdoors and Vets with Nets? How do they get involved?
Most of our veterans we'll take the bulk. I'd like Fallen Outdoors to provide because they're obviously linked in with with that group and can a lot of the folks that they're multi-year returners too. The members from Fallen Outdoors are chomping at the bit waiting on this event to get announced every year because it's one of their favorite events, they say. So most of our veterans come from Vets with Nets. Fallen Outdoors. Some of them will come from Vets with Nets, and then some of them are just veterans that are friends and family of our captains and our fishermen. So it's really a good mixture of wherever and whoever. We do our best to say no to no one. You know.
You don't want to say no to a veteran. You want to make it happen. I get it.
And we will. We usually have enough guys that show up that can take 2 to 3 each, and we'll make it a whole. It will. That was getting me my next point.
How many veterans are you trying to put on a boat? 2 to 3, and that makes it a pretty tight boat, I'm sure.
Sometimes it all depends on the boats, and we've got so many different sizes. There'll be some boats that can only take 2 people total, so the captain and a vet. And then some boats, my boat, I can have 4 vets on my boat. And it's you're not comfortable, but you're not crowded.
Gotcha. Right. But you're doing it for them, so it doesn't make a difference. Right?
Even more. It's never been a hesitation. My boat says I can take up to 10 people, but that would be crowded. We fit as many as we can safely, and then just making sure everybody has some vets.
Is there a cost to the veteran, or is it completely free?
Completely cost-free. There is no expense to them other than whatever it costs for them to get to the site. Last year, they all actually left with their very own Hellcat rod from our sponsors, Catch the Fever, out of Roxborough, North Carolina.
You were mentioning this to me on the phone when we talked. Tell us about this. Sounds like an amazing thing that you were able to work out here.
We've got very good sponsors, and they all have the kind of mindset we do is we're here and we're lucky to be here, and let's help out everybody we can while we're here. Right. For Real Fishing is one of my personal sponsors and event sponsors. They've sponsored Kings of the James and the Tidal James Club, and then Catch the Fever Outdoors, which is out of Roxborough, North Carolina, and they're a huge part of us being successful. Probably the main reason I even host the events. The owner called me like 20 minutes after that post was made and like, all right, bud, you got to do this. And I'm like, I've been calling you for 3 months and you haven't answered my calls, and now you want me to do something. So, but that whole company has been behind us, and they've made sure that we can provide anything and everything for these folks as it goes. And I went down there last year and I was like, all right, Caleb, what you got for me? He said, I got something special for you. And he pulled out an entire case of Hellcat Patriot Edition rods, which are...
Is that this right here? Is that what they're all holding?
All of them are holding a brand new Hellcat Patriot rod. And the design of the rods are they're red, white, and blue. The logo is the American flag in the logo, and a percentage of each purchase of those rods goes back to a veteran charity as well.
That's just fantastic. That is awesome. So Are you going to advertise on your Facebook page this event coming up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
We've got an event posted already.
you do, okay.
There is an event posted. Usually I flag them to the top of the page, but
yeah, I mean,
I've been slightly busy this year.
I mean, you're allowed to be busy. We totally get it, you know, I mean, for sure. So, but people can watch your Facebook page, and it's Tidal James Catfish Club to find out more about this upcoming event.
Definitely, and it's April 12th. Like I said, everybody's going to get there about 6 a.m.
At Osborne Landing.
At Osborne Landing,
Okay.
and then it's going to be food is going to be served about right around 1. So we'll give everybody time to fish for a little while, and then time to get back to the dock, settle up, clean up your boats, do whatever you got to do, and then we'll have some brisket and some fried catfish ready for everybody.
Oh man! So you have somebody there that's doing a smoker the whole morning or day before?
Yep. Because we've got a couple of pork butts too, so
Oh,
we're gonna have a little bit for everybody. We're gonna have some pulled pork, we're gonna have some briskets and fried fish, and just a little bit for everybody.
I tell you what, I mean, fishing and eating good Southern barbecue, it doesn't get better.
Fresh made, yes sir.
All right, so real important question. So you guys pay for everything for the veterans, or your sponsors do, but is there a way for someone like me or our viewers to make a donation? And if there isn't at this point, that's fine, but maybe that's something to think about.
There's definitely not like a monetary donation set up yet, or any ability to really do that, unless you wanted to just mail me a check that says donate to this. Or we're definitely, because one of the things we do while we're at the event is a big raffle. And a lot of times that's gear that the club has donated throughout the year, and it's fishing gear, it's tools, it's really whatever.
Right.
Some of it's secondhand. Like I just got a brand new set of rods, so I've got 8 mostly new rods that I'm going to donate to the cause, and we'll see how it works. A lot of people really enjoy. It's a lot of fun. It gets pretty competitive there too, because none of us like to lose anything, and apparently gambling is a pretty fun thing for cat fishermen. I don't know, but it's a whole lot of fun, and any donations that you would be willing to make, if it's a physical, like a fishing rod or a tool or like a jump start kit. Like we've had some cool stuff. One guy ended up having a full-on lazy boy chair one year. I mean, it's pretty cool. The veteran champion this year, the actual winner of our tournament this year, is going to get one of those big championship belts. I've already had custom made for him and stuff. I'm getting kind of excited for it, because I'll go all out for these guys. I don't have an issue doing that. I want everybody to have a good time and have fun. But any donations, physical stuff, can be brought to Osborne Landing that morning. Okay. Any monetary stuff can also do the same thing. Or if y'all wanted to reach out to the club page, we'll arrange anything else. I do have a personal PayPal and Cash App and stuff like that. But people sometimes
might want to do it that way or something.
Yeah. However it works, we're more than happy to take whatever type of donations we can come up with, because it all goes back into the club for next year, and it's impressive how much they think insurance should cost us.
Right, no kidding, right? Should be $5. People can reach you by going to Tidal James Catfish Club at gmail.com. That's an easy way to get in touch with Trey. Trey, as I was scanning your Facebook page here, I did notice, and I want to bring this up here and bring you up on full screen. There was a recent bill that was vetoed by the governor, HB 2782, and I'll just put it up here so our viewers can see here. And you guys were pretty excited about this. From your perspective, first of all, what was this bill about, and why is it good for the recreational angler?
That is a huge question. So this bill was essentially attempting to remove the 32-inch length limit. Currently, the law stands you can legally possess 1 fish per person over 32 inches per day.
Okay.
As a recreational angler that only targets trophy fish, I do not keep any fish. My wife gets so mad at me because she's like, you can keep the small ones. I'm like, first off, ma'am, I don't know how to catch small fish. Second off, I work way too hard to find these fish to spend energy cleaning them at the end of the day. So I don't really do that. But I am a firm believer in selective harvest, and that the commercial fishing industry needs to exist, and our governor has taken steps to make that easier and better for the commercial guys. He's They've gotten a few grants passed. It's going to build a processing plant in Gloucester, I believe, and then a processing plant down towards, I think, on the other side of the river towards Hampton. But what that's going to do is it's going to make it easier for the commercial guys to get their harvest to the plants to be processed, hopefully get them more money per pound and stuff like that. But the issue is these fish were stocked in the river in the 70s, and they are not the bottom feeders that everyone assumed they are. They have now worked their way into
they are a predatory fish.
They are the dominant predator in the river at this point. And there's a lot of effects that introducing a species has on a river system. What everyone needs to keep in mind is these fish were introduced because humans have already destroyed the fishery. We had already overpolluted it. We had already destroyed all of our natural fish here. We had done away with that. So let's keep that in mind when we attack the invasively introduced fish. But since then, in about mid-2000s, the catfish population peaked in the river. The river could not sustain more than what it has. And if you are to remove this length limit, now that's going to open up a heyday on being able to remove any large fish that you hook into, you catch. There's a lot of things happening in the commercial industry right now to where you have hoop nets, you have trot lines, you have shock boats. You have a lot of things focusing on getting these fish out of the river, and the small fish need to go. The river's biomass, I think 83% of the biomass are fish under 12 inches. Those fish are perfectly fine to harvest and take every one you can catch because you're going to have the bigger fish still in the river able to reproduce. Those fish are going to be able to be born and grow into the harvesting size way faster. The ones that don't get caught will still have the good genetics from the larger fish to potentially become a larger fish. If the commercial side of the industry harvests a fair amount of these smaller fish out of the river, that's going to free up space in the river. It's going to free up competition for food, and that's going to allow the catfish population and the other populations to continue to thrive and be. We could get back to in the early 2000s. You could go out on that river for half a day, and if you caught less than 15 fish over 30 pounds, you did not fish. You didn't try. To get back to something like that would be awesome, but I'd like to make it 50 and 60-pound fish. That's just me being.
No, I get it, right? Because you like the big fish. I get it for sure.
But to protect these big fish, there's more reason to do it than not. We've got professional fishermen, professional licensed guides that are on the river that make their livelihood by going after these big fish. Nobody's going to want to fly in from Salem, Oregon,
catch 12-inch fish
to go catch 12-inch fish in Virginia. They're not going to do it. I was a licensed guide as well, and I've had clients fly in from Oregon, spend 3 days with me on the river because all they wanted was a 50-pound fish. Now they probably spent almost $10,000 to come do that. They bought hotels, they paid for fuel, so
supporting our local food or restaurants, etc.
Plus me and my family, and this industry brings that to Virginia. We bring that much, the tournaments, the guides, just all of that stuff that goes on. We bring over. It's probably closer to $2 million, but we bring well over $1 million of revenue just to the central state of Virginia. Between Bugs Island, Kerr Lake, and between the James River. Those are
the big areas for catfishing for blues, etc.
Ask Clarksville if they wanted these blues to be gone out of that river.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't.
But with all of that being said, we support selective harvest and stuff, but this most recent bill it made no sense to us because it specifically wanted to attack the larger fish, which we've been fighting this battle for years now, and we've gone to meetings at DWR, we've gone to meetings with VMRC, VMRC is very much against it, but they're getting pressure from Maryland. The thing is the salinity levels in the bay and in the river contradict a lot of the studies that are being pushed. The bigger catfish are not going to be uncomfortable. And if they get into a certain salinity level, which the mouth of the James River is higher than that salinity level, they're going to be uncomfortable and they're going to turn around and come back up the river. Now, we do have extra rain and we do have extenuating circumstances that will change that. But our argument with this was the James River never once had a catfish swim all the way to Maryland.
Right.
The Potomac, definitely. Right. The Rappahannock, maybe.
Right.
But
not coming out of the James River, going all the way through the Chesapeake Bay.
So that was one of our standpoints. If we had to negotiate or settle, let's knock the James off that list. Let's knock Bugs Island off that list, because those are true trophy fisheries that people come across the country to fish. We had over 160 anglers and people reach out on there was an online post that we could comment on the bills. Yep. There was 160 of us that commented against this bill being passed. The delegates ignored it completely. They didn't even reference it. The senators laughed when she brought it up, because they started as one bill, then they pulled it, changed the name, started another bill. It seemed like a bunch of shenanigans from the average day person, that has to take off of work to come sit at the House of Delegates to wait on these people to not even have the meeting. Right. Either way, it was very, it was a surprise to most of us when he vetoed it, but it did give us, thank you, Governor Youngkin, because it did give us a little bit of faith in our system, to where
you had a voice that was heard.
Finally, because it definitely didn't feel like it was going to be heard. And we can go all kinds of different ways as to why the senators and delegates pushed as aggressively for something they knew nothing about. But hey, we're here
for right now, for the next year, until
next session.
Right, exactly.
Until the next session, we've still got a catfish fishery, and we're very happy, because I don't want to sell my boat and buy a Harley. I promise you.
Yeah. I want you to keep fishing and having fun. That's what it's about. All right, let's reel all the way back here. Back to this April 12th. This is the big day. This is the day that you're going to bring veterans on. And again, going back to that image there, you're using the Fallen Outdoors, using Vets with Nets. You'll take as many veterans as would like to go, basically. You're putting 2 to 3 or more on a boat. And it is be there at 6 a.m. at Osborne and fish a half day, have great food, and it's basically thank a veteran for what they've done for us.
Yes, sir.
That's just awesome.
It's our favorite event of the year. It really is the most fun. All we do is take pictures of the fish. We don't even weigh fish in. We just, bragging rights and honesty. A little bit of integrity is required, but I know all the vets have that. Our anglers are the questionable ones.
The camaraderie makes it so great.
For sure.
It really does. Trey, I want to thank you for coming on today. I saw a post on the James River Fishing Reports. That's how I found out about it, reached out to you, and I just think this is awesome. So my hat's off to you, even though I'm not wearing one, for you and your club for doing this and for helping out our veterans. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Matt, for having me on and for letting everybody else know about it, because we don't like to brag so much.
No, but this is something you can brag about for sure. So, everyone, that was Trey Thorpe. He is the tournament director for the Tidal James Catfish Club. Again, April 12th. It's a Saturday, 6 a.m. Come join them at Osborne Landing. Even if you aren't going to fish, if you want to just thank a veteran, you want to be out there to support them, they're going off at 6 a.m. They're back around noon. It's a lunch. You heard them, and then a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie. It's a great way to, once again, remember our veterans and thank them for what they've done so that we can enjoy simple things like fishing, because they've given us the freedom to do it. You all have a great day. We will have another episode coming up soon. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D.